Welcome to the XYZ Experiment podcast. It's Fiona here, and today I've got Luke, my Gen Z, and Darsh, my Gen Y. Hi guys, how are you going today?
Boys.
Very good,
Good.
thanks.
Last week I was driving in my car and I was listening to the radio, and they were talking about special meals, and they were talking a lot about fish and chips, and it made me think about a time when a time when we had special meals. And the example I would give is that when I was growing up, and I grew up in Western Australia, the only fast food franchise at that time was Hungry Jack's and
Mhm.
KFC, which is called Kentucky Fried Chicken. McDonald's actually didn't come to
I
Perth
find that
until the
wild.
80s. Yeah, it didn't come to Perth till the
Whoa.
Wild.
80s. I can still remember when McDonald's came to Perth. And we, every Thursday night, if we had been good kids, like if we'd had a good week, my dad or my mum would take us down to Hungry Jack's and we could have a Hungry Jack's. So, a mini burger with some chips, and you'd have a Coca-Cola. The Coca-Cola was the highlight because back then you just didn't have Coca-Cola at home. It's not the sort of thing that
Mm.
you had in the fridge. You just drank water or we used to drink cordial. And so we would be, really good. So we could have this Coca-Cola and this Hungry Jacks every Thursday night. And we did that for years and years and years. And I'm talking about the 70s, like all through the 70s. And it
Mm.
really is a very core memory for me. And I'm wondering if there was something that you guys had like a tradition in your family. I mean, we've got a few food traditions, but that's the one that really came to my mind immediately when they talked about these food traditions. Do you guys have anything like that?
I've definitely got a food tradition, and it's also linked to fast food. I wonder if you ask people this, if it had like a lot of it was about special occasion, like fast food um,
Mm.
eating. But for me, it was a Friday night,
Ah,
so
yeah.
it was like the most euphoric sensation because it's like it's the weekend and you're getting a treat. But on a Friday for probably like all of primary school, so maybe 6 years, I would be going to school, like I think it was 9 to like 3:30. I would get picked up by my grandparents. They'd quickly feed my sister and I lunch, and then from 4:30 to about 8 or 8:30, I'd be doing Greek school. So
Oh,
it was like a 12-hour day for me on the Friday, and the reward that we would get is a drive-through trip to Macca's afterwards.
yeah.
And you'd get like a burger, you'd get nuggets, and you'd get a Coke, of course.
Yeah, yeah.
And then you'd come home, and at that time, there was there was Big Brother was still a big thing at that time.
Oh, yes.
And we weren't allowed to watch Big Brother because we were young, but they used to have on Friday, I think it was called like Friday night games.
Hmm.
And they used to like do like mini games, which was a little bit more family friendly. And so we'd be eating Macca's watching like Friday Night Live or like whatever home movie was on at the time. And that was like, that's a core memory for me. That's something that like thinking in the future is like, if I want kids, what core memory like am I going to create around food?
It's true, isn't it? Like the only thing sometimes I think about is that food was a reward for us as a child, and so I
Mm,
continue to do that. Food is
Reward
a
yourself.
reward, yeah. Because it was a reward, if we were good kids on a Thursday night, that was the reward. And did we look forward to it? Like we were
oh yeah.
so excited when a Thursday night was coming up. How about you, Dash?
So I guess I don't remember having a regular night that we would go out. Probably more of my food memories, like my mum is an incredible cook and would like cook all of these different foods for us all the time. But occasionally my dad would go into the kitchen, and particularly on a weekend, a Saturday or a Sunday, he might make roti.
Oh, yum.
That's
Um, and so there was like a special roti pan that he would use, and he would make roti, and it was delicious. Like having, and so you would get it straight off the pan, and then you'd
Mm.
have it with butter or margarine, and it was incredible. Um, he'd also make crepes that we would
Oh,
mm,
occasionally have. Mum, on some special occasions, I don't know if it was Easter or if we were just, but we would have this Sri Lankan dish, which is basically sticky rice. Um, for breakfast, and you would have it with jaggery, which is like brown sugar.
mm.
Anyway, so there's, I think, more of my meals that I remember as core memories were these cultural meals that my parents cooked. Like, or my mum would make this dish called, like, they're called hoppers. And if we had leftover hoppers, you'd have dessert hoppers,
Oh, yum.
which
That's
again
so
was
good.
like brown sugar mixed into the mix. So a hopper is like a bowl and it's like of rice flour that's been cooked in a pan. It's crunchy on the outside and soft in the middle. So you can just imagine if you have brown sugar in the middle, it's so delicious. Anyway,
So
um,
yummy.
so we didn't go out as much. We'd occasionally go to like this suburb where there was like more Asian food because when we were growing up, there wasn't that many like Asian Sri Lanka. There was probably Chinese food, but like there wasn't that
Mm.
many other cuisines. Like Melbourne now is so diverse in its food scene. And so we would go to this Chinese restaurant in a nearby suburb occasionally, but it wasn't a weekly thing. And then the only other thing I'll say is when my uncle from Queensland would come down, he would take us to fast food. And he would
Oh.
often be like, do you want Tucky fried chicken? Or should we go to McDonald's? And he would take us. So that was a treat, but I don't think it was necessarily something as a family we did.
Mm.
Question though, right? Because when we were all growing up, fast food was pretty cheap, like affordable for a family and a large family to go eat dinner, right? Now it's really not. Like if you go now, because like now I eat McDonald's chips quite regularly, to be honest. But like if you got a burger and a chips and a drink, that's not a cheap meal.
No, it's
No.
not a cheap meal. And I don't eat a lot of that sort of fast food anymore, but when I have, I'm always a bit shocked because I used to think that was the cheapest thing you could get, and it's not anymore, that's for
Yeah.
sure.
So
It's almost as though, and I think I found this like going to the supermarket as well. Everything is inflated. It doesn't need to be. And so when you go to Macca's, they'll have these specials that actually kind of do revert back to like a budget like meal for limited times, or they might have a few things that are like, yeah, this is a budget meal, but they've just inflated everything so much.
so interesting. Because I remember when the soft serve cones,
Mm.
I don't, they were like 30 cents.
Yeah, they're 30 cents for years, years and years and years.
I don't know what they are now.
My biggest disappointment is when I go, it never seems to trigger the same memory of taste for me anymore.
Mm.
Like I have a memory of that sort of food just being absolutely delicious, like tasting really, really delicious. But when I go now and I go to eat it, I get about halfway through and I just think, oh, this isn't delicious anymore. Like it's just not
Mm.
giving me, it's not hitting that same comfort center or pleasure center anymore. Like it's just not doing it. And then like when Hungry Jack's changed their chips from fries to a chip, I was so disappointed because I like the fries.
Hang on,
Like the
Hungry Jack's
fries.
has chips. Oh yeah, they do have
Yeah, they
chips.
changed it from fries to
Yeah.
chips. They had a whole thing about it, about voting what people would prefer, whether to have fries or chips, and obviously the chips won. And it was like, well, I haven't had a Hungry Jack's chip since then. And what's that? Probably 10
Mm.
years. Just
Well,
haven't had one.
KFC still have chips, right?
Yeah, yeah,
Wow.
And Fee, I get what you're saying because I remember first year uni, like I had my like part-time job, I was
yeah,
going to uni. Everyone's like, when you go graduate high school, it's total freedom. You can do whatever you want. And very conveniently, there were quite a few fast food restaurants around where my university was, and I was like, oh, this is awesome. I can pop
yeah.
in and eat it whenever I want. And it was almost like if you haven't had a laborious 12-hour day,
Mm.
there is no like net like euphoric moment
Yeah,
anymore. It's almost like you haven't earned the treat. And so
that's
like
exactly right.
and so
Yeah,
now like because there was also when I first moved to Hobart, my first apartment, there was a McDonald's across the road, and I was like, this
yeah,
is great. I've just moved in, so like it makes sense that I'm going there. And maybe the first couple of times the novelty of it was like, whoa, this is awesome. But then it quickly is just like it's just addicting because it tastes
yeah.
really good, but it's actually kind of expensive now, and there's no like it's not a reward, it's just a thing you can do.
Mm.
And it's not that filling, I don't
No,
reckon.
it's not. It's not. one of the big controversies for us with this treat every Thursday night was because we did it for years. We'd go every Thursday night, and then all of a sudden I decided that I wanted KFC instead. And lucky, if they weren't next door to each other, my parents would have gone, no way. Like, this is no way we're going to do both. And then I would go like so my sisters would still get the the Hungry Jacks, and then I would get the KFC next door. To this day, when I walk past a KFC, I still absolutely love that smell. Like
Yeah.
that is just so addictively delicious. And I reckon the KFC smell has stayed the same from
Mm,
50 years ago. It's still the same. You know, what is it? 11 herbs and
And some
spices. I
spices.
think that hasn't changed. So that still smells very same to me. But the difference is they used to, I think, batter and cook it at the actual shop back then. You know, now I think they
mm,
import it in. They heat it up sort of thing. So it's a bit different now. But yeah, that was a big controversy. And then the other controversy came in where it's like, do I get a Coca-Cola or do I get a Fanta? You know, when Fanta came in, you know, it just which one would you get? It's funny how, yeah, those sorts of things are still, it's weird for me. I can still remember growing up and then remembering buying Coca-Cola for the fridge for the first time. That was a
mm,
weird thing because Coke, you never had Coke at home. You never ever had a soft drink in the house. You know, you
Well,
just,
you might not have, but other
yeah.
families might have.
Yeah, yeah. Well, in my age group, no, they're
Yeah.
definitely not. I mean, you couldn't even really buy it at the shops like that. For me, it was cordials and Ribena, like
mm,
heaps and heaps of
And
Ribena back then,
juices.
and juices, yeah. But not things like soft drink, but soft drinks now. I mean, don't you remember even it shows you how far we've gone in that and absolutely fabulous. The joke was to have bottled water. That was the
Yeah.
joke,
mm.
you know, and so but now that's just so normal. It's just so normal in society now that those sorts of things have changed with diets and that. But we also used to have other special treats like if we had a day home sick and my parents would still work, so you'd be home on your own, even at a young age, because back then that's what it was like during the 80s and the 70s. You would always get a lolly treat. Mum would always bring home like a violet crumble or a Mars bar or something. Always, always, if you were sick at home, when Mum got home, there would always be a
Interesting.
lolly for you. Yeah, and it would always be something like a violet crumble, a Mars bar, a cherry ripe, that sort of thing. Whatever she thought was your favorite treat, you would get that as
Mm.
as a treat as well. And that was a real tradition too, that you would expect that at the end of the day that this treat would arrive. You have that
Goodness.
as well.
Fee, you just unlocked a memory for me
Yeah, yeah,
when you
yeah,
said
yeah.
that. When I was growing up, my parents both worked full time, so I was very fortunate. I had both my maternal and paternal grandparents around, and so they would alternate each weekday that I would like, they'd pick me up from school with my sister, and we'd stay there until my parents finished work.
Mm,
And on a Thursday, I would be at my paternal grandparents' house, and it was all like really beautiful Greek home cooked meals. But my grandparents just like, grandparents love their grandchildren. I had the best grandparents in the world, and they knew that like my vice is soft drinks. Like I do drink a lot of soft drinks, or I did during
mm,
childhood. And it would be beautiful home cooked meals, but my grandpa would drive to like the service station and he would buy like a bottle of Solo or Fanta for me
mm.
to have with my Greek meal every
Yeah,
Thursday.
yeah, as a
Wow.
treat. Yeah. It's sort of funny when I've thought a lot about this topic this week, and because another food tradition I had is I used to go to after school care.
Yeah.
Mm,
And after school care, what would happen is you would come out of the classroom, you'd walk down to the after school care, you would line up, and then in that line, you'd get to the front. There's two ladies there, and you would get a slice of bread, and you could choose to have Vegemite, peanut butter, or jam on it. So, and they would do it for you there and then and you get a drink like it was a cordial, you get a drink. And so even to this day, the best thing for me after work would have a piece of toast with something on it like peanut butter or a bit of jam. I still love that to this day, you know. And
Really?
yeah,
wow.
yeah, and you couldn't have a second piece even if you were starving at school because sometimes after school you'd be starving. It was only ever one piece that you were given as this. And I think I followed that tradition for years and years and years. I'd come home and immediately make myself. a slice of bread with something on it. Like I still love that to this day. Peanut butter, Vegemite, or jam. Always those three toppings.
Mm.
Well, because my mum, when we would come home from school, would often have made home baked like muffins. So she'd have like
Ah,
chocolate chip muffins, or the other one she'd make was pumpkin spice muffins.
oh, yum.
Um, and so they were always a really amazing treat. And I think we always wanted more than we probably were supposed to eat because it was meant to last the week. Like she'd make them and then you'd like
Mm.
warm them up and stuff like that. Um, so yeah, there were definitely those types of things. The other thing that we had was we were not that we stuck to the rule always, but we were only supposed to have chocolate on a Friday.
Oh, yeah. Okay. Yeah.
So after
Yeah.
dinner on a Friday, we were allowed a row of Cadbury dairy milk chocolate,
Oh, yum. Yeah.
and Mum would hide it somewhere so
You
that we
never found
couldn't
it?
have it. Well, I think sometimes it would be hidden in places that weren't getting used that much, like the dishwasher or something weird, but
Wow.
or somewhere high that we couldn't reach. But
Mm.
yeah, it was a Friday treat. So like often things like chips and soft drinks and Coke and chocolate weren't like staples in the house.
Mm.
Mum would home cook more, but she wasn't working like full time or should be working part time. So I think that was, and she does love cooking. So that was like part of her like looking after us, love language kind of thing. But like now that I've talked about it, I'm like, I really would go a pumpkin spice muffin.
Darsh,
Haven't
were
had
There's
one
there
in
some.
a long time.
were there any kind of days of the week where there was a specific dish that was like, for the most part, always cooked that day?
No, she was actually really good at, and we probably all drove her insane because she would say, "What do you want for dinner?" And we'd be like, well, I don't know. And so, but we did have a pretty high rotation of
Mm.
different meals. And I think one thing that changed dynamic a little bit as my sister and I became more used to or exposed to Australian and Western food is we would start requesting things like, can we have spaghetti bolognese or can we have
Mm.
those types of things, which I don't think they necessarily loved eating. But my mum makes the best macaroni and cheese, actually. And
Mm.
that was like probably something when we were sick, we would get macaroni and cheese. Um, yeah, and that was a little bit of a step, but it wasn't on a particular day. Like you would never know what you'd be having for dinner on any particular day.
I
Mm.
see. We would always have the Sunday roast, a tradition we still do today. Yeah. So
Yeah.
if we
Yeah,
get
that's a
together
big
as a
thing.
family, always a Sunday roast. Yeah. And it would be lamb or pork or beef and often lamb actually. And it's something like if my sisters and I get together on a Sunday here in Melbourne, we have a roast, a Sunday roast with all the
Wow.
That's awesome.
traditional, yeah, we still do it to this day. I was just thinking today, like I know today's a Sunday, and the only reason why we're not having a roast today is one of my sisters is away. Otherwise, we'd be having a Sunday roast tonight.
So
Have
did
you?
you have meals that you would have like on a regular day,
Mm.
set
Oh yeah.
menu? Yeah.
I think that was probably more to do with the fact that growing up, I was a pretty picky eater
Ah,
Oh, yeah.
than anything. But I on that Thursday where my grandpa would go to like the newsagent and buy the solo for me, that day for dinner, we would always have my grandma's. It's called avro lemon or supa. It's like egg lemon soup. I think I may have talked about it
yeah.
Oh,
before.
yeah.
And that was when you were like when you had that realization at lunchtime at school on Thursday that you were having that for dinner, it's like a fist pump moment where you're
Yeah.
Yeah.
like, yes, this is gonna be great. So you still do the Sunday roast fee.
Hmm. Hmm.
Dash, do you have any kind of any like of these kind of fist pump meals or like traditions that you've brought into your lifestyle now?
Well, look, not when I'm cooking. So, but when we do get together with my side of the family, mum often will make Sri Lankan food, which we all love. And then Christmas dinner for us,
Mm.
our preference is for it to be Sri Lankan. So mum will make like
Mm,
biryani or my sister, like if my sister's cooking, like they will do more like curries and biryani and that kind of stuff. So because probably we didn't grow up with a roast culture,
Yeah.
that's not a big part of like our palate in terms of the kind of go-tos. Although I do love a good roast potato, but
Mm.
I find the whole concept of Christmas ham weird.
Mm.
Mm.
And so, yeah, I do. That would be probably one of the food traditions, but I don't think maintain a food tradition for just Scott and I. We like some of my food traditions are probably just me, like after I've had an infusion, sometimes I'll buy myself a treat. She'll either
Mm.
be like the kettle chili chips or salt and vinegar chips or a chocolate bar, often also because my blood sugar is low
Mm.
after an infusion. Um, but apart from that, not really. Do you?
Do you like, I'd be interested to know, because you've all got a Christian background, do you follow that tradition on Good Friday not to eat meat? Like, do you have fish and chips on a Friday? You know, fish and
Um,
chips, best day of the year?
yeah, so funny you should say that because so my mum has definitely maintained that when
Yes.
throughout our childhood, and we would have to listen to there was like some album, the Path to Gethsemane, which is like dark and scary music. Anyway, that would get played on Good Friday. And then the first Good Friday when Scott and I were dating, Scott came over and cooked eggs and bacon.
Eggs and bacon. Are you kidding me?
My mum was almost like, what's just happened? So he had no idea, and I hadn't told him. Oh, we kind of like eat vegetarian uh
Yeah.
until Sunday, Easter Sunday. So yes, but like now it's funny because he's a vegetarian
Oh,
Mm.
and he's so anti-bacon. So I was like, well, what happened? Anyway,
so funny because we're still fish and chips on a Friday, on a Good Friday. Still
yeah,
fish and
Mm.
chips. And when you go down to the fish and chip shop, they're still busy on a Good Friday. You know, that seems to be
Mm.
the day of the year for those guys where a lot of people follow that sort of Christian tradition of fish and chips. It's actually
mm,
really nice to go down there and there's families all down there having their fish and chips and go
yes,
sit somewhere and eat it and all that. It's so funny how culturally so many things can be around food, you know, like
yeah,
it really can. And the memories that it can trigger for you, it can be the smells and the taste and the, yeah, it's a strong trigger, I reckon, food.
yeah.
Mm.